Hi, everybody. Welcome to another class of Qi Gong, Tai Chi and Meditation for better health, prevent sickness, and to help with side effects and symptoms of your specific condition. So let's start with a little gentle warm-up. So I stand with my feet parallel, about shoulder width apart, and I grab my wrists behind my back, and then when we turn the circle the other way, change the grip, and I rotate counterclockwise, my hips, my ankle, the knees don't bend. So it's really just, if you think about it, it's like kind of shifting weight in a circle, and then at the same time, a little bit moving the trunk. So what's nice about this one, it's usually a Western warm-up starts from the muscles, the heart. And this is like a kind of an Eastern philosophy warm-up, which starts from the joints. So as you're noticing, the movement massages the ankles, the movement massages your hips, the knees get a little bit. No weight on the toes, so I lift my toes off the ground and I spread the toes, especially the pinky. If you check later, if you're barefooted, see if you can move your pinky up and sideways. So that's a muscle that goes all the way from the hip. Now we don't use it, you lose it. Next thing, I breathe deep in and out through the nose. My tongue touched the roof of the mouth. There's a little indentation right behind the top teeth. And when you put your tongue there, the whole mouth gets full of saliva. So that's how you know you're in the right spot. And when you put your tongue there, this closes an energetic circuit. So it's called the governing conception vessels, if you know acupuncture or shiatsu. And it makes the energy flow stronger. So I always say that way you activate your energetic system and then you upgrade it that way and you utilize it to circulate throughout your body, nourish the organs, cleanse and nourish the entire body eventually. I try to go about 2 or 3 circles inhalation, slow, and 2, 3 circles exhalation. If you can, you close your eyes. If you feel like you don't feel safe to close your eyes, you can always hold on to something like this, and then you can close your eyes. Why? Because when you close your eyes, you're more relaxed, and then you can do, your visualization will be stronger. So next thing, I want you to visualize a healing energy ball 2 inches below the navel in the center of the body. So if you look to my right, I have all these Tai Chi wooden balls. Some are oak, some are chestnut, pine, and on, mahogany, different size, different weights. So you hold the ball in front of the lower energy center, and that helps you with the visualization of the lower energy center. And that's what makes also Qigong and Tai Chi different than exercise or yoga. That you're doing exercise while you're utilizing the mind as a healing mechanism. I call it the power of the mind. And as my mom said, Rami, you don't have to wait for science to prove that the mind is powerful enough to take an active role and succeed with a journey towards better health and prevention. So, yeah, I'm not going to wait for science to tell me that. But it will one day, and there'll be all kinds of methods to make the mind even more powerful or to tap to more potential, because we only understand a very small part of our mind. Then I want you to circle from the lower energy visualization. I like to visualize this energy center as the sun, and I rotate the hips and the right hip and the left hip around the sun. I like to make one hip the moon and one hip the earth, and they both rotate around the sun, even though I know that the moon does not rotate around the sun. But in my universe, for the metaphor, I'm rotating. I'll just take any planet and just rotate around the center of the sun. Then change, gonna go clockwise, and then change the grip behind your back. So I mentioned in the classes before that what's special about Tai Chi and Qi Gong, that every exercise, you try to put all the 5 building blocks into it. So you have the body, so it's move through the ankles, the hip, relax your shoulder, head suspended, open your chest, relax the internal organs, lengthen the neck, and on and on. So the body has many different rules. And then you have the breath, the second, that's the second building block. So in this case, I breathe deep in and out through the nose. I coordinate the body and the breath. Then the third is the mind. So the mind is already active because you're trying to coordinate the mind, the breath with the movement. So now you have body, breath, and mind. The fourth one is the energy. So then visualizing the lower energy center gives you body, breath, mind, and energy. The fifth one is the spirit. So if I visualize the lower energy center as the sun, so that's right there, I evoke the spirit because it's it's part of nature, it has a spirit. The other trick is you send your mind into the earth, and your mind is in both places, in your lower energy center and deep into the earth, like you're a tree. And the mind that goes into the earth is the roots. So now you have body, breath, mind, energy, and spirit. I have a theory that when you push all 5 building blocks at the same time, you activate what they call the healing from within, or maybe even the placebo effect, which has a negative connotation in Western medicine, because, it just happened by chance. But if you think about it, the placebo effect is a very strong mechanism. If we had a way to activate this mechanism by will, you can almost get rid of any sickness. So the body has that ability. I've seen, as you know, I worked at Dana Farber for 20 some years. And I guess one of the fastest, worst cancers is pancreas. And I've seen maybe out of, let's say, 50 patients, 2 that just miraculously healed, so, and nobody understands what happened there, how did it happen? So there is this ability within our body to heal, but sometimes it's too slow, and then whatever happens to us is faster than that. But if you help with the deep breathing, the relaxation, the mindfulness, evoking the spirit, and keep freeing the skeleton from being a prisoner of the soft tissue, so even if you don't tap into that mechanism, you feel better, you help with the symptoms of backache, shoulder ache, oxygen, anxiety, sleep, and on and on. So a lot of the symptoms are being really helped with this intervention or complementary approaches. Whoops. Next, we'll do, so this is a little bit for the neuropathy. Let's see. So I'm going to move my wrists. But when I move my wrists, I'm going to put my mind in the fingers. So it's a trick. The trick is I want to move the joint above the one that I'm putting my mind in. So I'm moving my wrists. In this case, let's say I start with just forward and backward. but I put my mind in the joints in the fingers. And you can see, I can move the wrist forward, backward, I can move them sideways. That's when my palm, the front of the palm face back. I can turn the palms, so now they're facing, the front facing their feet, and I can move them again forward and backwards. That's different. And in and out too. So you have a lot of options of how to move the wrists. And then each of those movements creates a different sensation in the joints and the fingers. Maybe by now, some of you, I feel it, already feel like the joints and the finger nice and saturated with blood. Like I almost feel like they're a little swollen, but they're not. It's just blood and circulation. Especially if you take deep breath, you bring all that oxygen into your system. And then when you move the body, the blood flows into those areas with a lot more oxygen than if you're a shallow breather and you don't breathe deep. So take nice deep breath, almost 95% of your lungs. Feel the ribs expand. If I look at you, I should see your ribs move in and out in my class. If I don't see your ribs moving, that means you're not working your lungs to 85, 90, or 95%. Next, I'm going to move my elbows, which is, you can't move them as much as the wrist, of course. And I put my mind in the wrists. So I can move my elbows forward, like up and down, forward, backward, sideways a little bit. But my mind is in the wrists. I always say for beginners, the hardest thing is to isolate this specific movement in the joints that I'm saying. So over time and practice, you'll be able to isolate just the movement in the elbows and just put the mind in the wrists. You can feel how it all leads blood into the arms. Then I'm going to move my shoulders. I'm moving my shoulder up and down, but I put my mind in the elbows. I can move one shoulder at a time. And focus on one elbow at a time. I can move both. If I move my shoulders forward and move them up and down, it's a different sensation in the elbow than if I go in the center or if I move the shoulders back. Then I'm going to bend my knees just up and down like this, gently, very gently. And by doing it, you see the shoulders by themselves, they move. My feet don't come off the ground. It's like a little bouncing, pulsing, I call it, pumping, shaking. So every one of those words describe a different sensation. And again, if I let my shoulders go forward and I bounce, so it's one feeling, versus if I move my shoulders back, that's a second, totally different, and in different areas of the shoulders. And in the center, if I move my neck to the left a little bit, and I do it, it changes again the feeling inside the shoulders. And if I look to the right, again, that's because all the muscle in your face connected to your shoulders, layers and layers. If I look up, or if I look down, so the shoulders, like the hip, have a lot of sensation. Then I move to my hips. The hips, again, is a huge joint. It's the biggest one. So I bounce. If I bounce on the heels, it's different than if I bounce on the ball of the foot or in the center. That's a third spot. So each one of those spots in the soles of the feet creates a different sensation in your hips. At the same time, this also massages the soles of the feet, and every part of the soles of the feet correspond to different parts of your body, organs, and on and on. Spread the toes, lift them and spread them. I can also go from one leg to the other like this, but keep bouncing, a gentle bounce. Then the knees, so I'm putting a little bounce into the knees. If your knees hurts, don't do it. And then the ankles. The ankles, again, you can really change the different sensation in there by shifting weight to the ball of the foot, bouncing there. So you feel it in the front of the ankle. If I go to the heels and bounce, it moves to the Achilles and the back there. And in the center, you get the front and the back. It's a very gentle massage to the joint. So I don't know if by now you feel like the joints are a little, it almost feels like swollen, but they're not. It's from the circulation, the blood. You can see the vein pops out. You feel warmth in the joints. If you feel the warmth in the joints, that means you were able to isolate the pulsing, pumping right into that joint. Then I'm going to do the windmill. So I shift my weight from one leg to the other. If you don't feel safe because of balance, so stay with your feet parallel and just turn the waist from side to side like this. If you feel safe and you want to lift one leg up, so then I turn to my right and I lift the heel, my left heel off the ground, and I turn to my left and I lift the right heel off the ground. So I'm on one leg. Then I let my arm just swing like two loose ropes. What we're trying to do here is this. My Chinese drum, where is it? There it is. We're trying to imitate the Chinese drum. So you see the rope is your palm, your arms. The beads are the palms. The drum is your trunk, your internal organs. And the mind is the stick, or the spine is the stick. Your mind is the hands that turn the stick. Then I turn, and at the last second, I bend my elbows, and I touch the right palm into underneath the left ribs. That's your spleen. At the same time, I put the back of the palm into the right kidney. Then I turn to the right, and I take my left palm, and I touch underneath my floating ribs. That's your liver. And then in the back, again, that's your left kidney. So I go, when I turn to the left, it's spleen, kidney, turn to the right, liver, kidney, spleen, kidney, liver, kidney, spleen. Try to remember, Tai Chi is also a martial art. So you want to aim the center of the palm right underneath the floating ribs, and the back of the palm right into the center of the kidney. So again, the tapping of the palms on the organs leads to circulation in the hands, blood flow, stimulating the nerves. And if there's any chance to help with neuropathy, that's the key, is stimulating nerves, reintroducing the message from the brain to the nerves, creating flow of both blood and oxygen until they invent some medicine that will do it all and reactivate the nerves, like a battery, recharge it, reactivate it. Regenerate it. Some people like to tap like that, like what I'm doing. I'm assuming you can hear it. And some people like to touch gently. Both, you can experiment with both. When you train it for martial art, you sometimes can make your knuckles like make a knuckle fist and you strike it either with the thumb, the knuckles, the fist, and it's called also conditioning. So you can condition it for two purposes. One is martial art and one is health. I guess the health will help the martial art. So I always say first worry about your health. And then I have a saying from health to martial art. First do the health. And eventually, if you're interested, you also start to look for the martial art application. Then I'm going to divide the lungs into three parts. The bottom part, the middle, and the top. So first I'm going to touch the bottom parts of the ribs. I'm going to try to fit my fingers right between the ribs in the front and in the back side. Just tap the bottom parts of your lungs. I like to inhale in the center and exhale as you tap. Then go to the middle parts of the lungs, front and back. Because of all this tapping, deep breathing, and circulation you create, you may start to feel almost like transparent. The whole body is full with blood, energy, oxygen. At first, it's hard to coordinate everything. Like one of my students told me, "Oh, Rami, that's so much. This and that and this and that." Yeah, no, I say, no, a good teacher should teach you more than you can do. It's like giving you a map. My teacher used to say, if I give you a map and I only give you a small map, you want to get to City Hall from here, and I give you a map just a few streets away, and then you're stuck there. What if you're fast? What if you got a lift? Somebody took you and it's much faster. You understand what you're doing. Now you're without a map. But if I give you a map all the way from here to City Hall, even if it takes you years to get there, at least you have the map. So at least you have the knowledge. And then what you want to do is pull yourself back. Go to the top parts of the lungs. It's called pull yourself back. Say, okay, Rami, I understand. You want me to do all 5 building blocks, but I'm going to practice this movement just with the movement and the breath for a while. Then I'm going to add the mind. Then I'm going to add the visualization of the lower energy center. And then I'm going to change it into the sun and evoke the spirit. And then I'm going to monitor all 5 building blocks. So it takes time and practice, but one day you will get it. All right, very good. So now I'll give you a little break to your legs. Sit on the edge of the chair if you can. If not, you take something firm like a pillow and you put it on the chair and you sit and you use that for support. Most important is to sit with your spine straight so the lungs are open, the organs are not compressed. So that's a big one in both the Tai Chi, Qi Gong, and yoga. Correct alignment, open the internal organs, open the lungs, open the spine, reduce as much stress off the skeleton and the spine as possible. So stress is not just physical. Stress is also, stress is not just mental and emotional. Stress could also be physical. Bad posture is stress on your system, on your body, and my theory is when you have a bad posture, you're slowing down the potential of the systems. So the systems are slow down, circulation and all messaging and on, lymph, and then it becomes deficient. So you want to have a nice straight posture, and all it is just take practice and the will to do it because you believe that it's a healthy thing for you. And then when you're sitting nice and straight, you want to close your eyes. I put my hands on my lap, and I just want you to focus on the breath. This is called Zen meditation, Zen Chuan in Chinese, Zen in Japanese. And the idea is just to reach a place of thoughts with no thoughts. And by focusing on the breath, because the breath is nothing, you have a chance to do it. I just put 3 minutes. It's two and a half. So just for 2.5 minutes, try to empty your mind from any thoughts. Any thoughts come into your brain, lead them into the breath. And bring your mind back slowly. So if the 2.5 minutes went quick, really quick, oh wow, that means you were able to go to the brainwave between awake and asleep, zeta. If you felt like, oh my God, this is so long, 2.5 minutes, that means you were thinking and you weren't able to get there. So it's, it happens. It's different every time you try. It's different, but I suggest get a timer, start with 2-3 minutes, put it on, close your eyes, and try not to think. Sam, if you want to fall asleep, it's a very good trick to fall asleep. But you can't, if the thoughts try to come in, you go right into the breath. If the breath doesn't work, just make fire breath. Make a sound with the breath. And if not, then count the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's like a mantra. You keep putting that, and then don't let any thoughts come in. I guess that's what's the same as counting sheeps. You go 1, 2, meh, 3, meh. I don't know, something like that. But that's like a mantra. So when you do that, the mind only has 2, 3 thoughts, and then slowly it goes able to sleep. And the same when you wake up in the middle of the night, you cannot think. Once you think, I call it the second and third thought, that screws up your night. You cannot fall asleep. So, but after a while, you get good in it. So it doesn't matter. You get up, you come back, you put your head down, and boom, you just focus on the breath. You don't let the thoughts come in, and it gets better. Some days, I have 4 kids, something you worry, this, that, there's no way. It doesn't matter what you do. You can. So you get up, I don't know, read a little bit, sit in the dark, do the meditation, try. Worst case scenario, if your mind really cannot be quiet because you're so worried, then the next is to walk, go for a walk, be with friends. So you have to be more yang versus yin. And the more yang you are, you don't have time to think. So that's another trick. But sooner or later, you have to deal with it and bring it to a rest or deal with it and then dissolve it. So the other trick, so we did a little bit of tapping with the emotions, with the shaking. So I'm showing you different ways to achieve that, to stimulate the nervous system, but at the same time activate the other 4 building blocks. But we did that before, but I don't know if all of you were in those classes. So you tap, you take your right hand, you let your left hand just drop, and you start tapping from the shoulders down to the fingers. Then from the fingers, you go up into the inner, to the armpit, and then out, so down on the outside and up on the inside. This you can also use a wooden spoon, chopsticks, so different tools creates, again, different sensations, and some people like it more than others. But the hands is good too, because then at the same time when you're tapping the right arm, your left arm, your right arm is still getting the tapping and this blood circulation. And take deep breath, bring that oxygen in, visualize the lower energy center. See, if I visualize the lower energy center like the sun, so I project this sun energy also into the area that has neuropathy, and I use the visualization of the sun to touch those areas, stimulate the nerves. Change, then I take my left hand and I tap down on the outside, in on the inside. You can close your eyes. Then you can stand up or sit, doesn't matter. And again, I tap on the outside. I go to my toes. I tap on the inside. So this one also is a nice stretch for your lower back. If you have back problem, be careful. This one, just go to the knees and inner. Go on the outer thigh to the knees and on the inside. So if you don't feel like your back is able to bend down, Then I'm going to tap the organs. So with my right hand, I go in a circle. I go up on the right, into the center, and down on the left. So that's the direction of your intestines. You can do it with the right hand, you can do it with the left, or you can do it with both. Then I rub the hands, make them nice and warm. And I circle them all in the internal organs. I feel the warmth for my palms going into the internal organs. And I try to relax, dissolve, melt the internal organs. Again, warm the hands. Rub, rub, rub. Make them nice and warm. And then just put it on the internal organs. So another way to massage the internal organ is to move the abdominal muscles in and out with the breath. Inhale, move them in. Exhale, move them out. Inhale, move them in. Exhale, move them out. Put your hands on them. If they don't move, push the stomach in and let it go out. Push the stomach in. So at first, they don't move because you didn't use it. You lost the control over the muscles. But with time and practice, you'll be able to move the abdominal muscles in and out, massage the internal organs, strengthen the abdominal muscles, because it's important to support the spine, create circulation, remove stagnation. Any questions for today or in general?
I did have a question, Rami, so while I have a question, guys, maybe you want to type your question into the chat box. I was wondering, for somebody who has to remain seated for whatever reason, what would be a good way to do, like the windmill, for example, or warming up, like a good warm-up, joint warm-up exercise, all the things that we did standing? Any ideas for a good warm-up?
The first thing, the meditative shaking pulsing can be done all the way to the shoulders, and even with the shoulders, you bounce on the chair. And then the tapping, and you can still do the rotation. I mean, probably I would sit on the edge of the chair not to hit the back there. But you can still do the rotation here. Maybe a stool would be better without the back of the chair, and then, you know, and then everything else we did, you can do both sitting or standing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's sort of modifying it and maybe choosing a different chair that will allow more freer movement, you know, so a chair with
Tapping can be done sitting or standing. The shaking can be done almost all the way without the ankle. Even the ankles, you can move the feet like this on the floor and the knees, and even the hips, you can still get it bouncing on the sitting bone. So yeah, even that you can do sitting. And just the windmill, the only thing is the legs not going to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Rami. And we'll see you. The next class will be meeting on October 1st. It's the first Tuesday of the month, October 1st, Tai Chi with Rami. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you so much, Rami.